The news broke on a quiet Tuesday morning. Jamie Dornan and Amelia Warner on the verge of separation, read the headline splashed across glossy magazine covers. The story spread faster than wildfire. Tabloids, social media, fan pages, everyone was talking. Some dismissed it as another baseless rumor. Others saw something different in his recent interviews, in his quiet eyes, in the way he avoided questions about his personal life. For weeks, Jamie stayed silent. No denials, no confirmations. Just silence and disappearance. While Hollywood speculated, Jamie Dornan vanished from Los Angeles without warning. Paparazzi spotted him only once, leaving the airport with a single bag, baseball cap pulled low. No entourage, no statement. Just a man walking away from noise. And then, days later, whispers began to circulate online. Someone had seen him, not in London, not in Belfast, but in Italy. A fan photo surfaced. Jamie sitting at a small cafe near Lake Como, wearing sunglasses, looking out over the water. The caption read simply, "He looks lost." But that wasn't what sent the internet into a frenzy. It was the next photo. A blurry image, taken from a distance. Jamie walking along the narrow cobblestone streets of the old town, and beside him, Dakota Johnson. The world froze. Two people who hadn't been seen together in years. Two names that had once set Hollywood on fire. And now, amid the storm of divorce rumors, they were together again, quietly, unexpectedly, in Europe. Theories exploded instantly. Are they back together? Was Dakota the reason for the split? Or is it something else entirely? No one knew for sure, but for those who had followed their story from the beginning, it felt like déjà vu, like history looping back in the soft light of the Italian sun. Jamie and Dakota's story had always been complicated. A decade earlier, they were thrust into fame together through 50 Shades of Grey, a whirlwind of chemistry, chaos, and connection that blurred every line between fiction and reality. Fans were obsessed, critics divided, but through it all, they leaned on each other. They built something quiet, private, a friendship that refused to die, even as the world misread it again and again. Over time, they went their separate ways. Jamie found stability in marriage and fatherhood. Dakota carved out her own space in Hollywood, balancing artistry with independence. They rarely spoke publicly about one another, but every now and then, a glance, a smile, a quote, "He's my family," or, "She means the world to me," reminded everyone that their bond never fully disappeared. And now, that bond had resurfaced, in the most unexpected place, at the most uncertain time. Sources close to both told magazines that Jamie's European trip was meant to be a pause, a moment to breathe as his marriage faced heavy strain. He needed quiet, one insider said. He wanted to escape the noise and think. But somehow, Dakota entered the picture. Rumor has it, she was already in Italy filming a new project, and when she heard Jamie was nearby, she reached out. They met for coffee, away from the cameras, in a small lakeside town where no one cared about Hollywood or headlines. They talked for hours, a local journalist later claimed. No drama, no tension. Just two people catching up, laughing, listening, being still. Yet, for those who saw them, the moment looked different, softer, deeper. Dakota's hand brushed his arm as they crossed the street. Jamie smiled in a way fans hadn't seen in months, genuine, light, unguarded. When asked about it later, a friend close to Jamie reportedly said, "Dakota knows him better than most. She's the one person who never asks for anything, she just listens." That small act, a quiet meeting far from the chaos, sparked headlines, speculation, and hope all over again. But for Jamie, it wasn't about rekindling old rumors or escaping new ones. It was about finding stillness in a place, and a person, who reminded him of who he was before fame, before pressure, before the storm. As the sun set over Lake Como that evening, witnesses said they saw the two sitting by the water in silence. No bodyguards, no press, just Jamie staring at the horizon, Dakota beside him, both lost in thought. And maybe that was the real story. Not scandal, not romance, but solace. Two people reconnecting in a moment when both needed grounding more than answers. Because sometimes, the most powerful reunions aren't planned, they just happen, quietly, when the noise of the world becomes too loud to bear. And as the headlines screamed, "Secret Trip" and "Divorce Confirmed," somewhere in Europe, Jamie Dornan and Dakota Johnson sat in peace, far from the chaos, rewriting their story in silence. When the photos hit the internet, the story took on a life of its own. Jamie and Dakota reunite in Italy. Secret trip amid divorce rumors. Within hours, social media was ablaze. Some fans celebrated the reunion. Others whispered about betrayal. But for those who truly understood their story, the years of shared history, loyalty, and quiet care, it wasn't scandal they saw. It was something far more human. A few days later, a close source to both Jamie and Dakota spoke quietly to the press. It wasn't romantic. It was healing. They've always been each other's calm in the storm. That sentence changed everything. According to insiders, Jamie had flown to Europe after weeks of emotional strain. His marriage to Amelia Warner had hit a rough patch, not from betrayal, but from distance, exhaustion, and the toll of fame. He needed to step away to think clearly, the source explained. He wasn't running away from his family. He was trying to find a version of himself that he felt he'd lost. It just so happened that Dakota was there too. She was filming in Italy, spending long days on set and quiet nights alone in her rented villa overlooking the hills. When she heard through mutual friends that Jamie was nearby, she reached out, not with gossip, not with curiosity, but with empathy. She sent him a message, one insider revealed. Just said, "If you need to talk, I'm here." And that's how it started. They met in a small cafe by the lake. No assistants, no cameras, no pretense. Witnesses described it as two old friends reconnecting after too long. They talked for hours. Jamie shared the struggles of juggling fame and family, the loneliness that comes when everyone thinks you have everything. Dakota listened, and when she spoke, it was with the honesty of someone who had lived under the same relentless spotlight. She told him to stop apologizing for being human, the source said. She reminded him that it's okay to step back, to breathe. That quiet conversation stretched into the evening. They walked along the shore, talking about work, life, aging, and how strange it feels to be misunderstood by millions. There were no grand gestures, no drama, just a calm understanding between two people who had once faced the same chaos and somehow survived it. But the world doesn't believe in simplicity. By the time Jamie returned to London, the internet had rewritten the narrative. Secret affair, rekindled romance, betrayal. Every headline twisted what had been a moment of peace into another scandal. When asked about the trip later, Jamie didn't deny it, but he didn't feed the fire either. During a red carpet event, a reporter asked if the rumors about Italy were true. Jamie smiled faintly, that familiar calm in his voice. Dakota and I have known each other a long time. We've always supported one another. That hasn't changed. It was the perfect answer, graceful, disarming, and filled with quiet truth. He didn't know the world more than that. Meanwhile, Dakota, when pressed in an interview, responded just as softly. People love to imagine stories. But sometimes, the truth is just friendship, the kind that never goes away. Those words resonated deeply with fans. Suddenly, the narrative shifted from rumor to reverence. The hashtags changed from #scandal to #support and #healing-trip. Even Amelia, Jamie's wife, reportedly handled the situation with quiet strength. A source close to her said, "She knows Jamie's heart. They've faced storms before. What matters is honesty, and he's been honest." And maybe that's what this entire story was about: honesty, vulnerability, and the courage to reconnect when life feels heavy. In the weeks that followed, Jamie and Dakota didn't appear together again. But the echoes of their meeting lingered, in the soft smiles during interviews, in the way Jamie's tone softened when her name came up, in Dakota's gentle defense of him when questioned by journalists. It wasn't love rekindled, it was respect remembered. The kind that doesn't fade, even after years of silence and change. A friend later summarized it best. They've been through so much together. When life gets loud, they find each other, not to start over, but to remind themselves of who they once were. As the sun set on that chapter in Europe, Jamie returned home, quieter, more centered. The divorce rumors slowly began to fade, replaced by photos of him with his children, smiling again. Dakota continued her film, glowing in behind-the-scenes shots, seemingly lighter too. Perhaps that was the true purpose of their secret trip, not to reignite anything, but to release what needed letting go. Sometimes, healing doesn't happen alone. Sometimes, it takes someone who knows your story by heart, someone who was there when it all began. And for Jamie Dornan and Dakota Johnson, that person will always be each other, not as lovers, not as headlines, but as two souls who once walked through fire and found peace, together, under the quiet skies of Europe.